Hi! So if you've been living under a rock and don't know, Jimmy Kimmel, the host of Jimmy Kimmel Live, had his show briefly suspended by ABC, Disney, Sinclair Media Group, all at the pressure of Trump's chairman of the FCC. Now, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I actually had to practice saying Jimmy Kimmel so I wouldn't accidentally say Jimmy Fallon a bunch of times, because in my head they're the same guy. Late night is already a dying format, and has been for the majority of my life span. But I never imagined it would be where people are looking for their resistance to pretty open fascism. And big surprise, it's not exactly there at all. Make no mistake, the FCC putting pressure on corporations to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air is absolutely the state censoring political speech. They're open about it. And after starting the push to ideologically purge universities and museums, it does track that popular entertainment would be the next step. And Kimmel is a high priority target for this administration because he started calling the current president an orange Cheeto man almost 10 years ago. Yes, it is that stupid. The world is really stupid. But before I get started, here's a quick word from today's video sponsor.
This video is sponsored by Raycon. Listen up. People say all the time that audio is the window to the soul. It's an expression. And thanks to Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds, my soul is wide open, and it sounds awesome. The Essential Open Earbuds keep you aware of your surroundings without sacrificing audio quality by hooking around your ear and sitting in front of your ear canal. The open ear design and breathable fit delivers comfort, safety, and immersive audio, all while keeping you aware of what's around you. I'll be honest, I've never used earbuds like these before, but I ended up really liking them. I think these are probably my favorite earbuds that Raycon's even sent me. So they're still pretty low profile, and they just sit right in front of your ear. For me personally, these are some of the most comfortable earbuds I've ever used. I could get like a little overstimulated by having stuff like in my ear, so this is awesome. I could use it for the new West Side Gun album. Check this out. Yeah, that's basically awesome. No sound bleed or nothing. The Essential Open Earbuds are designed to be a one-size-fits-all with a flexible ear hook that adapts to any ear for all-day comfort and awareness. They fit securely, they're not going anywhere, whether you're walking your dog or at the gym. There's even tap to pause and double tap to skip, just like any other earbuds. And there's even multi-point connection, so you can connect to multiple devices and switch seamlessly without having to worry about menus and repairing. The rechargeable case provides 36 hours of battery life, and the earbuds last 8 hours just on their own. So these give you days of non-stop listening, and you're gonna need it for this West Side Gun album, I'll tell you what. And the best part, Raycon's quality rivals the other big premium audio brands, but they come at half the price. So if you're in the market for some new, comfortable, and affordable earbuds, now's the time. I'm just gonna say it. And hey, if you aren't in love with them, Raycon comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and returns are easy. So if you're interested, click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/EdenRileyOpen to get 20% off site-wide. Doesn't even have to be these, could be any Raycon product. It's a great deal, and you know it is. That's buyraycon.com/EdenRileyOpen for 20% off site-wide. Take advantage of this deal, get the earbuds, support the channel. God, this album is so good. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video, for supporting the channel, and for delivering premium audio quality to millions of people. Now let's get back into the video.
Now, ABC was pressured to return Kimmel's show to the air from a lot of different places. Certainly internal pressure, but also people mass canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions and even protesting outside of ABC offices. Because if you want to mass mobilize Americans, it does not happen until you take away their treats or their TV. Don't get me wrong, it was an overreach, of course, and it was bad, but to be honest, this is a playground bully kicking someone's sandcastle over, in contrast with the violence of the current administration, or even just compared to how pro-Palestinian protesters have been treated for the last 3 years, not to mention people like Mahmoud Khalil, Rumiesa Ozturk, and Mosa Madawi, who were all violently apprehended and threatened with deportation for their speech. Part of the reason for how much pushback there was to return Kimmel to the air was how timid what he really said was. And as usual, was way more critical of Donald Trump than anyone else, which ultimately was the bigger issue, I imagine. And I can sit here and shadowbox with the conservative argument about how what he said was dangerous misinformation, when that's only relevant to the most bad faith interpretation of what Kimmel actually said. And I just don't have time for that. Here's what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House. which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years, and it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. And it didn't just happen once.
When I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right?
Who wants this? Who is he talking about? 150 years? So you get it. What he said was so callous and so radical. Obviously, it is an incredible overreaction for the right to demand Jimmy Kimmel be deplatformed for what he said. It doesn't really matter, especially when it's the state itself enforcing what speech is permissible on corporate broadcasting stations. Like, the FCC's job is not to make sure nothing hurts the president's feelings. And so maybe I was foolish, but I expected a little bit of hostility in Jimmy Kimmel's return to late night, especially considering I believe his contract is up with the network in January. So there's a very good chance they just don't renew the show, especially if it proves to be more of a liability for their brand or whatever. Instead, Jimmy Kimmel grovels and thanks the Disney Corporation for another chance. I wouldn't even be making this video if it wasn't like almost offensive how little he stood up for himself here, or just freedom of speech in general. He fails to meet the moment, but what else do you expect from Jimmy Kimmel? So I want to dissect this monologue and just talk about my grievances with it and where I think not only does it fail to meet this moment, but it fails to accurately call out what is happening by name, and that is fascism. And I worry that this fascist administration will appropriate the term fascist as means to prosecute someone based on Antifa ties or take them off the air because, it's dangerous escalation. It's an accurate description of what's happening, and they prove that every day. The only thing I really appreciate about this entire piece that they did returning to television, I think the intro accurately portrays the absurdity of people's expectations when it came to what Jimmy Kimmel was going to say.
ABC chose to bring back their low-rating nighttime hosts.
We are in for a monologue that will be a marker in late night show history.
It's going to be in a moment.
Yeah, no question, a huge moment in American history.
It's one of the most pivotal moments in broadcast history.
He will be delivering what is being dubbed the most anticipated monologue in late night in years.
But that's really the only thing I like about it. Okay, that's too much cheering. That's way too much. Holy okay, that's enough!
I'm not sure who had a weirder 48 hours, me or the CEO of Tylenol.
The CEO of Tylenol. Tylenol is made by Johnson & Johnson. Did they not know that? CEO of Tylenol is so stupid. It's like being the CEO of M&M's. Asshole. Sorry. I don't think I can play too much of the set itself, so pardon me if I have to describe it a little more than, your average video. But the intro is like listing how many people reached out to cheer him up and make him not sad anymore.
Thank you, Larry, and I want to thank everyone who checked in. My friend Stephen Colbert.
I just hate that.
But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying,
what you can and can't say,
what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like. That will end up bad for conservatives.
I don't think I've ever said this before, but Ted Cruz is right.
You don't have to hand it to Ted Cruz, because as much as he's sticking to principles that he claims to have that he actually doesn't have, like freedom of speech, his reasoning is completely selfish. And that betrays any notion that Ted Cruz has principles. He doesn't give a shit, he just doesn't want it to hurt him one day. He has a little bit of foresight, and Trump doesn't, because I don't think he's gonna live long enough to see any consequences for anything. Because of old age. It's dangerous to have the government overreach on personal vindictive issues like this, period. It doesn't matter if it's gonna one day hurt conservatives.
Even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it, and thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ted Cruz, for celebrating the fact that I got fired.
I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired.
And then also thank you for warning conservatives that they might have to worry about the same thing later on.
That will end up bad for conservatives.
Wow, thank you. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't take a lot of courage to stand up to Donald Trump's FCC chairman, not as a fucking senator. And that really speaks to my biggest issue with Jimmy Kimmel's entire monologue that he gave coming back. He's still aiming for this like bipartisan bullshit. They're slitting your throat, Jimmy. They want you dead.
But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
My bad person. My bad person. Come on. Really? What's in your pockets, Jimmy? You got an onion in there, you got a little thumbtack to make yourself cry or something. Come on. This feels so rehearsed. It's not even that I don't believe him. It's just that you're responding to the most bad faith argument. Obviously, they don't give a shit. You have to sanctify the dead racist, or you're cheering on his death. There's no in between. I also don't see any tears. Is it just me, or I don't see any tears? Now, I don't understand if this is unintentional or if Jimmy Kimmel just doesn't want to get into it. But when I watched what he initially had to say about Charlie Kirk, he said it was one of them, and he puts emphasis on it.
The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. And
which is verbatim what the Utah governor said he prayed for it not to be. He said he prayed it wasn't going to be one of us.
For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for.
He didn't mean MAGA conservatives. He meant white men. That's one of them. White male U.S. citizens. Just like the school shooting that was done at the same time Charlie Kirk was killed was done by one of them. And the ICE detainee murders that just took place yesterday, as I'm recording this, was done by one of them. That's what it felt like he meant. Now, again, that could still be the case, and he just doesn't want to say that, but I think, not explaining that is kind of lame and stupid. Instead, he's crying because I think he just wants it to go away. And see, I feel like he's over it by now. I feel like he's done crying. Where are the tears, Jimmy?
I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't.
Okay, but was Charlie Kirk not someone who thought violence was a solution? He advocated for violence all the time. He said that knee on the neck that killed George Floyd was an approved policing technique. He would advocate for more police to do it. That is imagining violence as an answer. He advocated for ICE deportations. He advocated for the state of Israel. Those are all violent apparatuses used for violent ends. But I guess it doesn't count because he never pulled the trigger himself.
And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So,
see, but imagine if those threats were institutionalized into the kind of rhetoric that people brought around children in high school. Wouldn't that be fucking insane though? What if someone went around on their YouTube channel to millions of people repeating the same kind of threats that you get to your life and justifying that kind of violence all the time? Well, that's a beautiful angel with a wife and a child.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
This, I think, is actually offensive. Politics is more than just what is allowed on TV, because we already live in a country that is violent towards dissent. That is objectively true, and it's violent on a racial level too. And it's so easy for someone who never talks about the reality of politics and never talks about the actual victims of politics to say, I know that these threats would never come from my kind of right-winger friends, and it's so important that we live in a country where I could have a show like this that is the softest, most baby critique of the fucking presidency. Which, it's important that people be able to criticize the presidency. I just think the priorities in this argument and this perspective are so out of touch and so distorted. It's so very much the perspective of a multi-millionaire TV host.
I've had the opportunity to meet and spend time with comedians and talk show hosts from countries like Russia, countries in the Middle East, who tell me they would get thrown in prison for making fun of those in power, and worse than being thrown in prison. They know how lucky we are here. Our freedom to speak is what they admire most about this country. And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American. And
that's fucking crazy. What about a country where you can criticize foreign entities that are doing genocide? Holy shit. This attitude that like jokes are what we really need right now. That's what requires our focus and protection. Thank God we live in America. They love that we can joke. Our speech is so free when we say that the orange man is a Cheeto. It's really important they let you say that. They don't let you say a lot of other stuff, but that's not important.
And that's something I'm embarrassed to say I took for granted until they pulled my friend Steven off the air and tried to coerce the affiliates who run our show in the cities that you live in to take my show off the air. That's not legal. That's not American. That is un-American.
As much as he's not wrong, this is not the beginning. This is not where it started. Arresting people for their speech is also very un-American. Threatening to deport people for their speech is also very un-American. Kidnapping them in broad daylight for the things that they say and their activism.
Should the government be allowed to regulate which podcasts the cell phone companies and Wi-Fi providers are allowed to let you download to make sure they serve the public interest? You think that sounds crazy?
No! They said no because he asked the question, stupid. Should they be allowed? Don't you think that's crazy? Like, people were gearing up to say no that whole time, and then you changed up what they had to say, Jimmy. You fucked it.
Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing Carr Republicans have embraced since this one. There was an FCC commissioner back in 2022 who worked under Joe Biden who was spot on. He wrote, President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. You know who wrote that? FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr.
I kind of resent the attitude like, oh, Republicans are hypocrites. They say they're for free speech and now they're censoring my speech. They've always wanted to censor speech. They want to censor trans people out of existence. They have censored Black history and Indigenous history too. The right is so censorious that they used to try to fucking ban Harry Potter. So this hypocrisy bullshit doesn't work for me. It is the laziest thing you can do. It's like saying the sky is blue. Thank you, Jimmy. I didn't realize that Donald Trump was a liar.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down.
And I wonder, how did that guy turn into this guy?
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
Well, a lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel look, he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent, and more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings.
Dude, he is so out of his mind. Also, what do you mean wondering how that guy turned into this guy? That's the same guy. That's like super the same guy. I guess liberals are behind on the appropriative nature of fascism and how they take things that are meant to be objectively good and politicize them to be on their side all the time. Okay, he does this stupid joke about, oh, here's how to uncancel your Disney Plus subscription, guys. Here's how to pay for more Disney. Guys.
I've done almost 4,000 shows on ABC, and over that time, the people who run this network have allowed me to evolve and to stretch the boundaries of what was once traditional for a late night talk show, even when it made them uncomfortable, which I do a lot. Every night, they've defended my right to poke fun at our leaders and to advocate for subjects that I think are important by allowing me to use their platform, and I am very grateful for that. With that said, I was not happy when they pulled me off the air on Wednesday. We talked it through, and at the end, even though they didn't have to, they really didn't have to. This is a giant company. We have short attention spans, and I am a tiny part of the Disney Corporation. They welcomed me back on the air, and I thank them for that.
Yeah, when I called them an orange Cheeto, nobody wanted me to do it, and they let me do it. They let me call them an orange Cheeto. Thank you, Disney Corporation. Thank you, Mickey Mouse, CEOs. They had no right to pull him off in the first
first place? Why would you, what? Yeah, you get stabbed in the face and then they pull the knife out and you go, thanks, man. Thank you so much for not stabbing me anymore. And frankly, I think it's greedy for Jimmy Kimmel to even want to cling so hard to this platform and this show or whatever. He likes to pretend that it's about all the people that are hired to work on the show, giving all them jobs or whatever. When I don't believe that at all, I think he just enjoys, you know, the fame and the multi-million-dollar salary. But he's rich enough and well-connected enough to do his own thing and torch the entire network that tried to censor him at the behest of a fucking senile fascist asshole. But no, that would be too mean to his bosses. Why did people celebrate this? It fucking blows my mind.
And I think unjustly, this puts them at risk.
Oh yeah, it's not the company's fault. They're just doing as they're told. No, you can't expect the executives in the suits to really do anything other than, you know, what the government tells them to do. They can't put up any kind of resistance. They can't just say no. They're only worth billions of dollars and have incredible influence and prominence in American culture. What do you want them to do?
Somehow able to squeeze Colbert out of CBS. Then he turned his sights on me, and now he's openly rooting for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the hundreds of Americans who work for their shows who don't make millions of dollars.
He's going for all of the Jimmys, dude. And again, it's all because they made fun of him in the first term and haven't completely turned around to be sycophants like J.D. Vance, for example, who called him Hitler before.
He's gunning for our journalists too. He's suing them. He's bullying them. Over the weekend, his foxy friend Pete Hegseth announced a new policy that requires journalists with Pentagon press credentials to sign a pledge promising not to report information that hasn't been explicitly authorized for release. That includes unclassified information. They want to pick and choose what the news is.
Again, it's almost offensive to act like all of the sudden the press is constrained by the American state. Oh my God, that's not true. They work hand in fist with the American government. The press are complicit. The press have appeased this administration. The press have manufactured consent for ICE raids and mass deportations when they were talking about migrant caravans under the Biden administration and beyond. They've manufactured consent for genocide in Gaza and sourced to the IDF on the majority of their stories covering it. And it just goes to show no matter how much you work for this administration or work with the State Department, it's never going to be enough. Neither will Jimmy Kimmel crying or begging for unity or whatever in this moment.
One thing I did learn from Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and Howard Stern is that a government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American. I am so glad we have some solidarity on that from the right and the left and from those in the middle like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's totally in the middle. He only voted for Donald Trump and had him on to glaze him.
We found one thing we can agree on, and maybe we'll even find another one. Maybe we can get a little bit closer together. We do agree on a lot of things. We agree on keeping our children safe from guns, on reproductive rights for women, Social Security.
What? I'm really confused. No, we don't. Who agrees with this on the right? The left, the right, and the middle all agree on this? Like, even if you asked Joe Rogan about reproductive rights, he'd be like, yeah, totally, except for, like, those 9-month abortions or whatever. Like, even people who might agree with the principle or the idea out of context are indoctrinated with propaganda. I just think it's so silly to act like everyone's on the same page. Like, no, people need to be caught up, actually.
A moment over the weekend, a very beautiful moment. I don't know if you saw this. On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow.
So here he's crying again about Erica Kirk forgiving the shooter who killed her husband, which, like, sure, that's the Christian thing to do. That came after she walked out to pyrotechnics, and it was quickly followed by an arena of cheering sycophants. Not the most normal moment.
If you believe in the teachings of Jesus, as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply. And I hope it touches many. And if there's anything we should take from this tragedy to carry forward, I hope it can be that. not this.
The way he said that, I don't know if he meant it, but it almost sounds like we just need to focus on how, you know, forgiveness is awesome and how she forgave the shooter instead of this, like me. Forgive me, but don't even think about it. That's what Jesus would want. It still, like, feels performative. It still feels desperate. Again, I don't see it there, Jimmy.
I'll have more to say when we come back.
We gotta take an ad for Chili's. It's so sad.
The 3 for Me, only at Chili's, is now available with the all-new Big QP.
So that was him actually addressing everything that happened. The rest of the show was the usual comedy routine, except it wasn't very funny. Nothing's really different. But that's the thing, like, America is changing. Our institutions are being changed very dramatically. And it feels like people who are comfortable, like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and all the people he mentioned, they fail to understand just how different this America is from the America in their head. American exceptionalism and the mythologized rights that we're supposed to have all the time are disappearing before our eyes every day as we continue to fund a genocide, a modern day Holocaust. And these fuckers want business as usual. They want another renewal of their contract next year. Oh, please just protect comedy as people are being abducted from their homes, jobs, and legal immigration court appointments. Like, fuck this, man. We need anger. We need real fucking passion, not this sobbing and capitulation. Just because you call Trump a, like, stinky weirdo a couple of times doesn't make up for it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Conservatives should never be apologized to. It will never be enough. I mean, look at Trump's Truth Social post after this monologue aired. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. I fucking knew he was gonna say, like, oh, he's crying because his ratings have hit the floor. Like, that's all that matters to these people, is the most petty bullshit. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. His speech is a campaign contribution. This is getting real fucking stupid real fast. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. God, it's so gross. I mean, he's right about that. The last time he sued ABC, he did get $16 million. They gave that mouse its cookie already, and he wants another $16 million because they lied to him or something. And Jimmy Kimmel thanked the corporation that kept his show on when that's the same fuckers that paid out the president. Why? Like, this power grab by the government, this gaslighting, this violence all has a name, and it's fascism. We can't be scared to call it what it is and call out people who are appeasing it. The capitulation is already here. It's already happening. And it's emboldening the government as we speak. And Jimmy Kimmel bending the knee halfway instead of using this massive viewership and this moment more responsibly in condemning this fascist administration for its violence, at least, is not gonna make the target on his back or anyone else's any smaller. I don't know, this pissed me off. The reason they took him off was bullshit to begin with, and he still comes back and thanks the corporation and cries because, oh, I didn't mean what you thought I meant. They don't give a shit, man. You mean what they want you to mean in any given moment. You'd think someone that talks about Republicans every fucking show and makes fun of them all the time would understand that. At least we protected comedy. That's what really matters at the end of the day. Thank you for watching my rant on Jimmy Kimmel. I hate the government. I hate the people that aren't realizing what's happening, or do and aren't brave enough to actually say what it is. I'm tired of it.